Welcome to Gun News Review and our new every Friday edition. Ignoring criticism of its relationship with the NRA, Wells Fargo issued a $40 million line of credit to Sturm. The loan was made despite pleas from a group of nuns who've been talking to Wells Fargo about what they call social responsibility issues. Wells Fargo contends that crime committed with guns should be addressed through the legislative process and not be arbitrarily set by a bank. The new debt is in addition to more than $400 million Wells Fargo has loaned to gun makers since the Sandy Hook school shooting in December 2012. Bloomberg reports no other bank has loaned the gun industry as much during that period. 3 Washington state law enforcement groups have come out against the 1639 initiative up for vote this November that would drastically change that state's gun laws. The law enforcement groups believe the proposal, if passed, would do nothing to stop crime and would only infringe upon the rights of law-abiding citizens. The groups came out in opposition to 1639 just days after the FBI's annual crime report showing that rifles of any kind are used in only a fraction of homicides in Washington state. Meanwhile, the King County, Washington City Council has joined Seattle in passing an ordinance requiring gun owners to lock up their firearms. Before passing that ordinance, there was a public forum on the issue.
I don't want my gun locked up by law. I want it up by common sense.
I can't believe that I have a locked car, a locked medicine bottle, a locked home. I keep other things in my house that are important under lock and key. It is incumbent upon you to be responsible when you own a gun.
The new law requires that gun owners comply or, after an initial warning, face a potential misdemeanor charge and a potential fine of up to $1,000 or a maximum of 90 days in jail. A federal court has ruled that New Jersey's ban on magazines holding more than 10 rounds is constitutional. The Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs challenged the new law in court within an hour after New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed it in June. The group has already filed an appeal and vows to fight the ban all the way to the Supreme Court. Gun owners in New Jersey are allowed until early December to sell, modify, destroy, or turn over to police any gun magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. California Governor Jerry Brown has signed several gun control bills into law that take effect January 1st. Among them, the minimum wage for buying rifles and shotguns goes from 18 to 21. Another prohibits Californians with previous convictions for domestic violence charges and those who have been hospitalized for mental health issues more than once in 1 year from making firearm purchases. Law enforcement and military service members are exempt from the provisions. 2 Pennsylvania Democratic lawmakers have proposed legislation that would ban loaded firearms in cars or vehicles, claiming it's a precaution against road rage killings. One proposal would make it a crime for a person to carry a loaded gun in any vehicle except for game hunting, law enforcement, or security drivers. Another would include a prison sentence up to a year and a fine of $2,500 for first-time offenders. Subsequent offenses would bring a prison sentence up to 5 years and a $10,000 fine. President Trump this week said his administration is just weeks away from finalizing a regulation that would ban the so-called bump stocks. At a news conference,
so we're knocking out bump stocks. I've told the NRA, I've told it, bump stocks are gone. But to do it, you have to go to public hearings, which we've had. You have to go through all sorts of regulatory control systems. And we are in the final couple of weeks, and is our attorney around someplace, please? He said we're in the final 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll be able to write out bump stocks.
The plan by Vermont State Police for bump stock owners to turn in the devices was a big bust. They received only 2 bump stocks ahead of the October 1st deadline for when the stocks became illegal in the state. Before the law became effective, owners were allowed to anonymously drop them off for disposal at state police barracks. Vermont's legislature passed gun restrictions earlier this year that included universal background checks, increasing the age to buy firearms, and banning high-capacity magazines and bump stocks. You're listening to Gun News Review. A decision by Fort Lauderdale to ban gun shows at its War Memorial Auditorium is being challenged in federal court. Florida Gun Shows, Inc. says the city is violating its free speech rights and treating it differently than other businesses. Fort Lauderdale's mayor has said the city was concerned about the negative image it will get from gun shows, which have been held at the city auditorium for more than 30 years. The West Virginia Attorney General's office says concealed carry recognition has been affirmed with Kansas and South Dakota. That means the two states will continue to recognize concealed carry licenses from West Virginia as part of reciprocity agreements. The Washington State Secretary of State says Washington now recognizes South Dakota concealed carry permits. The news follows 3 years of negotiations, and negotiations continue with the state of New Mexico for concealed carry reciprocity. In Mill Creek, Utah, this week, a concealed carry holder stopped a man who was threatening customers at a 7-Eleven. Police say they were called to the 7-Eleven for an aggressive trespasser. Before police arrived, the man went next door to a Starbucks where he attacked and injured a customer. That's where the concealed carry holder shot the attacker in the chest. The suspect made his way back to the 7-Eleven where police arrived. The 37-year-old man was taken to a hospital in critical condition. And a hunter received life-threatening injuries after a bear he shot tumbled down a slope, dislodging rocks. Alaska State Police say 28-year-old William McCormick was hit by a rock and the bear. It's not known how big that bear was. McCormick was flown by helicopter to a hospital in Anchorage, where he's being treated. You've been listening to Gun News Review. Comprehensive and concise.